There's almost a touch of disappointment in hanging out with Rudger van Wyk here, not because this is not the most marvellous, almost the size of Belgium suite at the Cape Grace, but because the very first time, Rudger, we sat down and had a proper conversation was out at your previous home, Start Conde, sitting on that little island in the middle of the dam, looking up to the mountains under blue skies, in what was it was a pretty good place to properly kick off this wonderful wine career of yours.
Yeah, awesome, amazing place. I think it's probably one of my most beautiful experience as a winemaker. But now we sit here in the beautiful Cape Grace Hotel, which I can also say it's very beautiful. And yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
It's always lovely chatting to you about your wine journey. I still wish, part of me wishes that you'd kept on with the rugby career instead. It certainly would have helped us, but we've got some pretty good wine in return. And watching this wine journey of yours unfold, which has included that stint at Start Conde, people who went to visit saw you in this beautiful location, but as a winemaker, the far more important part was discovering your wine talent through the prism of making wine out there at Start Conde. What was that like in terms of learning your craft and fine-tuning it and honing the art of making wine?
Yeah, it was a special 9 years of my life. I think after being part of the Cape Winemakers Guild or a project program coming from university, I had the opportunity to be a winemaker in Stellenbosch, which I think is a lot of young winemakers' dreams. And I've learned a lot there on working with different varietals and even specializing in Cabernet Sauvignon as a farm. And also we went through a transition of farming organic, also certified organic, which Stock on the is now. So a lot of lessons were learned. And that is probably the motto of my life is, you never stop learning and you always move forward.
Which is what you did. I remember, I think you sent me a WhatsApp and said there's some big news coming. And that news was you moving on. And initially there was that little bit of shock because, hang on, I always just associate Start Conde with Rudger with Start Conde. You were intertwined. But part of the nature of being a winemaker is its transient sense that you do move on, you do shift. It's part of a learning process. You decided to move over Doolhof. I obviously visited you there and seeing you finding your feet when I was last out there. What's it been like since then? Do you get a sense that you're starting to understand Doolhof, understand new terroir, understand the new place you call home?
Yeah, Doolhof is an amazing property, and I left Stock Conde to pursue that new challenge, and actually sort of challenge myself as a winemaker, not getting used to one environment for the next 30 years, but actually broadening your horizon, moving to another piece of land and terroir. And from meeting me a few months or beginning of the year, I must say I've definitely found my feet now. Starting to understand, the different aspects and soil types and even the people too. So, a great project also needs good people, of which we have at Doolhof. So I'm very excited. We've just bottled my first white wines and rosé for the year, and the reds that's still in barrel looks amazing. So I'm very proud actually of starting so quickly, hitting the ground running, and the quality of what the wines that are actually showing now. It's an awesome view.
It sounds like it can't be that complicated. You're a winemaker, you're a protege, you've got loads of experience. You're just moving offices, really. You made wine in one place, you can make wine in another, but it is slightly more complicated than that, and there is so much nuance to the different space. How challenging is it really as a winemaker to say, right, Stellenbosch, goodbye, Wellington, hello, let's plug and play somewhere different?
I think it is definitely challenging, but also I have the support group behind me, the infrastructure, the owners, the team that I work with at Doolhof. They've been very welcoming, and they have a vision to where we're going to take the brand, which aligns with where I want to go and how I want to make those wines. So I think there's a very good marriage with regards to that. But yeah, the challenge is set out. We have our clear goal on what wines we want to make, how do we want to grow the brand as Doolhof, and actually also how do we want to grow Wellington as an area designation or for tourism too. So
I wanted to ask you about that because Wellington, and I say this with due deference to Wellington, partly because Wellington's full of people like you and Skalkberger who are a lot bigger than me, and I don't want to upset you because you go to gym twice a day, as we can see. But Wellington just sits off the radar a bit for me. It doesn't get the accolades, the attention, the spotlight of a Stellenbosch or a Swartland or a Hemelanado or Franschhoek or Constantia, the places that roll off the tongue a little more readily. And I don't think that's because of the quality of your wine. I think that's because the story just hasn't quite been told enough.
Yeah.
Is that part of the greater plan that you'd like to see more of Wellington on the front pages?
Yes, definitely. Also, I think Wellington is a a unique jewel in the Cape Winelands. They actually sort of want to try and stay under the radar, which I understand because this year I love the town. Everyone knows everyone. Still that typical early '90s sort of environment where the kids can still run around in the streets. The farmer sitting right next to you drinking a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. With that lifestyle I like, it's very country. So it's getting that balance right and not making it too cosmopolitan, and sticking to what Wellington truly is. But also what people don't know is Wellington is about an hour from Cape Town. I actually think it's closer to what Franschhoek is. So yeah, there's probably just a misconception of Wellington being far, but going there, it's a short drive, and you actually, specifically Doolhof, you actually feel like you are away somewhere in the Midlands, in South Africa. Very beautiful.
It's clearly won your heart. You're clearly settled in. Safe to say then, a reasonable chunk of time now after saying goodbye to the beauty of Stellenbosch, a different kind of beauty, but one that's definitely got a smile on your face in Wellington.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a different kind of beauty. I always tell my winemaker friends I'm a sucker for mountains. So, we're moving from the Jonkershoek Valley and the mountains there, and I'm moving over to the Lamidberg Mountains. Soil types are great. And we have a lot of natural environment and flora and fauna there that it's quite beautiful, and you could get that used to that pretty quickly. So yeah, special place.
One quick one for you. When I come out to visit, last time I was there, we drank some beautiful Malbec together. I've had a lot of Doolhof wine over the years. What's the wine that's really going to put Doolhof on the map over the next 5 to 10 years with your help?
The focus for me would be obviously Doolhof is focused on making Malbec, and Malbec will always be there. I think actually there's a huge focus in plantings. Actually, a lot of people are planting Malbec now. So watch the space as a cultivar, I think, in South Africa, because I think we have the soils and the sunlight like Argentina. But also for me, a focus is going back and being traditional, proudly South African, and my focus now would probably be Pinotage. Having worked under Aubrey 10, 12 years ago, that was probably the last time I've made Pinotage. But, I have a little bit of experience working with Pinot Noir, per se, with the old Caratara brand, and a little bit of Cinsault, which is their parents. So, the Pinotage that's in barrel now looks amazing. And that's going to be probably my wine and hopefully Doolhof's wines that we hang our hat on for the future.
So look out, South Africa, for some great Pinotage, and Mendoza, you've been warned. Rutger and Wellington are coming the way of Malbec. The wines of Doolhof and the Rudger van Wyk. There's some great Pinotage, some great Malbec headlining the offering, and that plus all the other wine should mean there's no time for anything else. But winemakers, as we know famously in South Africa in particular, never really know when to stop. Rudger van Wyk, you have got the wine to make at Doolhof, this new space, newish space where you're finding your feet. This should be an all-encompassing role. But you are a winemaker and you're in South Africa, and you guys are all complete workaholics, and you're also dreamers, and you brought those two together because, as well as making wine in Wellington, you've decided to join the world of Duncan Savage and move to the wine paradise that is Salt River, and you're now going to be a wine bar owner as well.
Yes, I'm definitely going to be a wine bar owner, of which we will launch soon. And I must say, yeah, Salt River is a special place, and I think there's a lot of culture, art and culture that goes on there, and it has a lot of potential. Watch the space soon.
Give me the name, give me the exact location, and give me the feel for what we can look forward to.
Yeah, so the name is going to be called Novel Wine Bar. Novel being a story or something new, and everything is related to next generation South Africa winemaking per se. So my focus there would be to champion and put the star on a lot of young winemakers, you know, people of color, women, men, some making only their own brands, some being assistant winemakers to bigger brands, not having a home. And, you know, it's a lot, there's a big sort of movement to a lot of winemakers being nomads, you know, just traveling around. But I sort of wanted to create a home for all the nomads. So it's probably going to be like a one-stop shop in Cape Town where you can come in and have a glass of wine. Everything is going to be by the glass, of which you can experience a lot of these young winemakers and their stories and their wines that it's hard sometimes to find in South Africa and even globally.
You are in a part of town that Duncan Savage has made famous for wine. When he first moved there, there were a lot of raised eyebrows, but it's become the home of the great Savage wines. And by extension, it's become the home of a lot of people Duncan has worked with. And he's been a great South African influence on so many young winemakers. I think of Banele, who's worked with him for so long and has created his own brand. You were through the Cape Winemakers Guild as a prodigy. You've seen what it means to have people offer you a hand and help bring you along. You're now getting in a slightly different way to do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a new challenge. Trust me, there's a few things running about that I actually didn't know of.
It's not quite as relaxed and romantic.
No, it's not. No.
I'll just sit there, I'll drink wine all day, It'll be fabulous, make loads of money.
That was the thought and the picture that I envisioned, but there's a lot of back office things like finance and markups.
Aren't spreadsheets lovely?
Spreadsheets, yeah, things that winemakers love, right? So yes, it's an amazing opportunity. You talked about Banele, you know, the Chiara was also that worked under Duncan Savage. It's also to create a space for you know, certain winemakers to, you know, take that chance, make a barrel of wine. Hopefully, if it's good, we'll sell it at Novel Wine Bar. And it's also, you know, a lot of we want to introduce the wine industry to younger generations or people that has to transition over to drinking wine. And I think that's quite critical to get people in there, hear people's or winemakers' stories, where they come from, their background, and while they do it, they can have a glass of that person's wine. So I want to have a very personalized touch there, with a nice engagement between winemaker and consumer, because sometimes, you know, in our world, you'll always have a middleman, a rep, or a sales manager. So just to bring the consumer and the winemaker a little closer to each other.
It is a challenge in our industry where you go into a restaurant, you have a look at the wine list. Wine is at a restaurant often not inexpensive, and you look through and there's the one wine that you know and you've had it 26 times before, and everything else. What is a Vaillog-Nayer? I've never had this Albareno. No, I'll just take what I'm used to. So the fact that you do stuff by the glass and tell the story around that, give the people a chance. Well, I'll pay a lot less, I'll be able to try it. No, hang on, I actually really like the Viognier. Albareno is lovely. That for me is such an important space to get people to transition into a wider understanding and appreciation of wine.
Yes, precisely. That is the goal. And you know, for me personally, also, I don't know all the varieties that the world has, but I like
Nobody does.
Nobody does. Yeah.
The Greeks have got 400. Yeah. They don't know all of them.
So I like to try different things when I'm traveling abroad and in different countries, drinking native stuff. So yeah, that is sort of the concept what we want to give people to come in, try wine. Sometimes there will be days that we have some music there. We'll probably have some food there. It's all about creating a very nice environment combined with maybe a tasting room experience that you can find in the winelands. Now we're just putting it in the middle of Salt River and Cape Town.
Which, of course, logistically is enormously sensible because you're making wine in Wellington and then you have a wine bar in Salt River. So I'm guessing you're doing so well with your new contract. There is a helicopter as part of the job and you shoot it. How hands-on, how involved can you be? How much do you direct traffic at Novel?
Very hands-on. You know, I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old at home, so I try to spend as
much time away as you can.
Yeah. That's why I'm opening up new things now. You know, I want to be very hands-on at least for the first year. I have a sales or store manager that's going to help me. He's going to do the coffees there too. So we're going to try and establish a novel coffee brand. And also just to bring in people and come in and have a chat with a winemaker or experienced coffee maker. So you'll definitely see me coming in and out there, maybe even at night when there's some feeding of milk to do at home. I'll pour some wine for people in Cape Town. So it's going to be exciting.
Suddenly explains last time I saw your wife. I said, Dan, I can't believe Rutger's been on the show 26 times in the last 3 weeks. Sorry, I can't do any feeding. I've got to go and be on Dan's show. I've got a little surprise for you. You don't know this is coming, but in just a moment, there's going to be somebody walking through the door here at the Cape Grace. Looks like a surfer who's been on a 12-day overland safari trip with no access to washing facilities or a barber or a decent tailor. He's actually a rather good winemaker. He's someone we've mentioned several times already. I've asked Duncan Savage to come and join us. He's set up in Salt River. I think he'd be a pretty good sounding board for the way forward and give you a bit of local advice. So
Yeah,
if you're
cool.
up for that,
Yes.
we'll rope him in.
That will be an amazing experience.
All right, there we go. While we wait Duncan's arrival, start penciling in a wine route through Salt River. You can visit Duncan, check out the wine bar. Could be the hottest new destination in global wine. Rutger, you're moving to Salt River. So there is only one person to give you some guidance, and that is the mayor of Salt River, Duncan Savage. You two guys must be pretty good mates, know each other fairly well?
Well, for a long time. I mean, when did you finish in the protege program?
15?
Yes, already 15.
Yeah. It's,
How old does that make you, Duncan Savage?
I didn't want to mention
Dad.
Let's talk quickly about Salt River, which is where Rutger now finds himself as a wine bar owner. I remember how the entire wine industry realised how you had completely and utterly lost it because you decided to swap Cape Point Vineyards for a warehouse in Salt River, which has turned out to be the greatest stroke of genius ever. But what did you see in Salt River that the rest of the world didn't?
We didn't really see anything. It was just all we could afford.
Cheap rent.
No, listen, it's a super cool area and it's super dynamic. You know, we live in one of the greatest cities in the world, and Salt River, it can only go up. It can only go one way. And if you think about it, like these people come and visit us from the UK, and they say it's a little bit like Shoreditch was, but not like 10 years ago, like 50 years ago. So it's raw and it's like, but there's a real dynamic there, you know. There's a lot of poverty still, but there's a lot of amazing businesses and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, we think we're growing with this area. We're getting to know the community a little bit better. The city of Cape Town, I met the mayor a little while back at a dinner, and they've got big plans for Salt River. So, like, to be a part of that, I think is cool because the city can't grow into the ocean. It's not going to grow further towards Clifton because that's just too expensive. And it's not going to grow up the mountain. So it can only come one way. And I think that's super cool. And it shows a real element of Cape Town, not that like fancy semi-European. It shows Cape Town for what it is, you know?
Which I think is kind of what appeals to you, Rutger, because that's the kind of guy you are. George kid who ended up in Stellenbosch, you've made it now as a winemaker, decided in the wine bar business. I think Salt River is looking like a really good fit.
Yeah, I think, you know, I had family growing up, or still have family in Athlone. So, you know, getting used to the curries, the boboties and the samosas and you know, half moons, all of those type of things, and still driving into Salt River and having that same wafts and aromatics. Now just adding a little bit of wine aromatics to the area, it makes me quite proud because we're establishing something like Duncan just mentioned in like a real Cape Town suburb. That actually has a nice cultural connection to my culture and family. And let's see. I'm very excited to start this whole thing.
And I know we're the best Gatsby place in Salt
That's the
River.
other thing I want.
This is important
Full house
information
steak
to know.
Gatsby from the Continental. You guys can give me a discount if you ever watch this.
Give Rutger some local advice. He's moving into the space. When you come in as somebody new, you don't want to march in and we know everything, we know how it's all going to work. You need to make sure the local community feels that you want to be there for the right reason. So what should Rutger be doing to ensure he gets off on the right foot?
Just don't take the head buyer from Berry Brothers on a stroll through Woodstock after dark, because I did that and we got mugged. Not good for business, but otherwise it's flippin' cool. It's just, as I say, I think, you know, Salt River is, you know, people have in their mind this tiny little community, but it's actually a lot bigger than you think. And it's so diverse from businesses. Like, I've always been amazed. You drive up these little side roads and you didn't know anything that was up there before. And here's some oak who's makes steel stuff, this
Panel
artist
beater.
here, panel with like a car repair shop. It's just a mixed bag of everything. And I think that's what's quite cool, because there's a lack of energy and dynamic to the place, which is cool. It's refreshing in a way.
Yeah.
And also, what's actually quite nice is there's a lot of beautiful old architecture in the area as well. And I think it just needs a little bit of investment and a little bit of money. And COVID, I think, dealt things a bit of a blow, because there was a lot of development. And development's also like a double-edged sword, because it can also be, bad in the other direction. Yeah. So I don't know. But for the time being, it could do with a bit more cash injection, and people like yourself, myself, all the other businesses there, just flying the flag for an area that's actually got a bit of gees in the city of Cape Town.
So you got some local advice. I think some wine advice from Duncan's also invaluable, given he's been making such great wine for the last 40, 50 years now. If we look at what you're going to be doing, Rudger, it's wine by the glass. It's all the younger, cooler, up-and-coming winemakers.
So we'll be there.
Give us a snapshot of what you're seeing as the wine offering, and then let's get Duncan's thoughts on whether or not you're on the right track.
Yeah, we're going to do, basically, I think a lot of the young guns are doing a lot of Chenin, a lot of Syrah. I would actually encourage people to also focus on the local varietals like, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc. So there's going to be certain gaps on the list that we might not see a lot of gaps in Sauvignons, but that's where my winemaking hands comes in, and I'll probably put in something like a novel white that we produce as a Sauvignon Blanc by the glass. And yeah, if you want to come in, have a glass at 60 Rand, or you can come in and hopefully I have some Savage at like 400 Rand a glass.
Half a glass.
Yeah.
Half a glass.
But it's all about having fun, bringing more people to the area, and also smelling the half moons and samosas and Gatsby's.
Well, we look forward to coming, and it's going to be awesome. As I say, I should know about these things, but I'm not on social media, so I suppose I'm always a bit behind the loop.
There's a press release going out by fax tomorrow that should come through to your office. I think this is exciting, Duncan. You've got amazing. A terrific winemaker. He's clearly got a really cool vision. Finding the exact wines to pair with Gatsby's and Half Moon is going to be terrific. But this is a great addition to Salt River.
It's awesome, and it's nice. The entrepreneurial spirit and in the industry, it's so important at the moment. So it's fantastic. So well done.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I don't know about you, but my interest is certainly piqued in Novel, the new wine bar. So there's only one thing to do then, to brave the streets of Salt River and go and check out Novel in person. So this is the much vaunted wine bar, as one of the great young winemakers of South Africa decided, hey, you know what, making wine in Wellington isn't nearly busy enough. Let me come to Salt River and open up a wine bar. I have to tell you, on first glimpse, so impressed. The aesthetic's brilliant. I'm a sucker for big royal blues. You've got that brilliantly done. It just looks so welcoming, and it looks like you're pretty happy.
Yeah, very happy, and I must say, actually, when we chose this color, I was very nervous because I'm also a lover of blue, but it's come off and it looks well, and everything looks like it's matching, so very proud of this space, definitely, yes.
A few things that will define whether or not this works. First one is the authenticity. Top winemaker knows what he's doing. I think we've got that one sorted out. Second one is what you are going to be serving. Again, you know your wine back to front. Know it's going to be wine that comes from newer, younger, cooler producers. It makes it really exciting. But then it is also the area. You will have patrolled, done some exploring. I know Duncan Savage has given you some guidance. Yeah. How are you feeling about Salt River being the home of what you're doing?
Very comfortable. I think, this is sort of my people that's walking around here. So I also know it's going to be a challenge because it's in Salt River and it's not mainstream V&A or Pre Street or Close Street or Stellenbosch. So we're putting a wine bar just a little bit outside of those areas. So yeah, but I'm always a guy that's up for a challenge, and we would definitely have to think about different strategies to get people here.
You're a winemaker, you love wine bars. I host a wine show, I love wine bars. Do you think broadly South Africans have embraced this concept of a wine bar as a space to go and hang out in, enjoy some wine and spend some time in?
I think after a few rough years that South Africa has had, people are definitely interested in looking at new places to have fun, have a few pints of beer or glass of wine. So, I always tell my wife, like, we miss the lighter side of life. We miss sometimes to have a nice laugh and spend time with your family and your friends. And now I have the opportunity to actually establish something that's my own, and again, very excited to do that.
amongst your selection of wine, I thought, what is Rutger going to give me to drink? There were a few ideas I had in mind. I certainly wasn't expecting what appears to be a Fanta. This is your mimosa in a can. I've never seen one of these before. Tell me about these.
Yeah, so this is actually the partner that started this whole bar with me. This is his project called the Good Mimosa. And also, amazing product. This is delicious. And it is basically 50% Chenin Blanc and orange juice, pure orange juice that's carbonated and put in a can. So this is officially going to be the home of the Good Mimosa, and you can actually find it in different places around the country: Spa, Macro, Liquor City, Ultra. So yeah, watch out. I think it's a beautiful packaging, and it actually fits in very well with the royal blue colors at the back.
So my wife adding fresh orange juice to a glass of the Graham Beck's Cuvée Clive almost caused a trial separation. I feel that bubbles should be left in its pure form, but this is designed very specifically to be what it is. So shall we open them and give them a test drive?
Should we give it cheers?
There we go. Cheers, Rutger, to your
Cheers.
brand new adventure.
Thank you. Refreshing.
Refreshing and worryingly dangerous, because that slid down very easily. Hot summer's day, a few of these, and I'm dancing in a fountain and having way too much. Oh, it's a cool product, it's inventive, and I think it also speaks to this, because this is an area that has reinvented itself in recent times. It's become a really cool and fashionable space without being overly so, not forced so, and having a bit of fun as we do with these cans, I think fits with the vibe.
Definitely, and looking forward to have a lot of people try this new product here. I have some of this at my home too, and it is very dangerous to have a few of these. But yeah, it's a great product, and I'm very proud to represent it here at Novel Wine Bar.
It's a cool space. You're going to be seeing a bit more of me here. I love it already. I know it's not quite officially open. It will be soon. When it does, best of luck, and enjoy yet another great wine adventure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Rudger.
Cheers.
So there we go. In the heart of Salt River, it is novel. It is the latest addition to this wonderful, wonderful journey that Rutger's taken on through learning in Stellenbosch, going on to Start Condé, moving out to Wellington, where he is now in Doolhof, and now Salt River as a very welcome added distraction. Really cool wine bar, looks fantastic, and if Rutger's involved, expect the wine to be pretty good as well. Cheers.
Cheers.